we then would have enough money to take the people dependent and wean the rest of the people off the system and give us a breathing space there where we can change the system over a period of time. But I'm not talking about just bringing troops home from a country or two. It's time that we brought our troops home, not only from the Middle East. We need to come home from Japan and Korea and Europe and the Middle East. Think of the immediate effect for that. It may well increase the value of the dollar. It may well decrease the cost of oil. And it may restore confidence. And just think what the immediate effect of bringing troops home and letting them spend all that money here in this country rather than around the world. That would push our economy right there. But some argue, no, it's our moral responsibility to tell the world how to live and to protect our oil and whatnot. So we've been in Iraq 2003 for 5 years now. They claim the mission was accomplished, but I think they've come up short. One of the ideas was this was to be a cakewalk, and it would be paid for by the oil in Iraq, and our oil would be protected. How it ever became our oil, we'll never know. But what has happened? We've spent $1 trillion plus. Some are predicting it's going to cost $5 trillion before it's all over. And what did it do to the price of oil? It went from $27 a barrel to $115 a barrel, and they call that sound policy. I call it nonsense. Now, the same individuals who got us involved in Iraq are anxiously waiting for the opportunity to apply those same principles toward Iran. That, to me, would be devastating, unnecessary, a threat to our national security, and would just further along our national bankruptcy. So I believe, just as I believed 5 years prior to going into Iraq, that we should avoid going to war against Iran. Our foreign policy is something that defies imagination. The founders were very clear on what they thought we should do. We should follow a policy of non-intervention, that we should not tell other nations how to live, we should be involved in the internal affairs of other nations, and we should keep a strong military here at home. Matter of fact, that has been generally the tradition of the Republican Party. If you look at the 20th century, Republicans were elected on more occasions to get us out of the difficulties of unnecessary war than they were elected to get us involved. Even as recent as the year 2000, our foreign policy platform said, we've had enough of Clinton's nation building and policing of the world. But here we are doing it more so than ever before. We need to just understand the principle, and the principle of non-intervention is not isolationism. It means that we talk to people, negotiate with people, travel, and be friends with people. That is a much better way to do it than telling other countries that they have two options. You do it our way or we'll bomb you. If you do it our way, we'll send you money. Why don't we just be friends with them? That makes more sense to me. Unfortunately, though, we have gone astray. We have drifted a long way, whether it's our political party, whether it's our confidence in freedom, and our understanding of individual liberty, and a determination to follow the Constitution. We have drifted a long way from those principles that made this country great. But we have an opportunity, and a much better one, to recover than others have, because we have great traditions. There was a time when we understood what sound money was. There was a time we understand about private property ownership and contracts. And we had principles, and we did understand at one time that we shouldn't be involved in everybody else's business. So this is not brand new. We talk about this Ron Paul revolution. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with me as much as a revolutionary idea. Unfortunately, it's only going back to the Constitution. That's what we need to do. I said that one of the issues that motivated me to finally run and speak out this past year had to do with foreign policy and the war in Iraq. When I first entered politics was in the 1970s, because I saw the economic consequences of guns and butter over the 1960s. And there was a prediction by the Austrian free market economists during the 60s that the Bretton Woods gold standard wouldn't last, it would collapse, and we would have to admit that we are defaulting on our promises. That happened in August of 1971. So the 70s were tough times paying the bills of guns and butter. And I entered politics because I wanted to talk about economics and sound money. But during that study, I did come to the conclusion that this country would be a lot better off if we had taken the advice of the founding fathers, and that is that only gold and silver can be legal tender, and you don't have a Federal Reserve system. The monetary system we have is a monopoly. It's controlled by a secret bank. It creates all the inflation. It causes the business cycle, and it causes the bust. It causes our recessions and our depressions. It is a result of malinvestment created by artificially low interest rates that have to be corrected by the marketplace. And unless we address this condition of the dollar and finances will get much, much worse. But there's a political reason why you want sound money. If you believe in freedom, if you believe in limited government and balanced budgets, you don't ever want to give the power to the government in a secret manner to create money out of thin air. It doesn't make any sense. I sort of get a chuckle when those individuals that interview me on national television, and even at times in the debates where I would come up with these ideas about sound money, and there was chuckling and a bit of ridicule, like, what is this idea about believing that the money should be